You're live.
I'm live?
Yes, you are.
Hey, I see the live button. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Pauline Gold, and on behalf of the pastor and the board of trustees, welcome to Andrew Jackson Davis Building. We ask that you turn off your cell phone at this time. Our hymns today will be led by Reverend Louis Gates. Please, at this time, our pastor is going to say a few words before we begin our first hymn.
Good morning, everyone. Just a little note, just to let you know that we are open now. We have seating for like 37 people here in church. So if you'd like to come out to the church, come out to the church. Really, if you want to donate to the organization, please go to the camp website at castaneda.org. Hit the donate button if you'd like to donate. The services are changing a little tiny bit, so kind of check the website. Grove service, instead of starting an hour after church service, is going to be starting right after the church service in about 5-10 minutes, and we're going to do Grove service, the message service that we do in the afternoon. So we're not going to make you sit around here for an hour waiting for us. So the services have changed a little bit, but we're going to get back up and moving. And you're allowed to come here on Sunday. We have some people here today, brave souls that have ventured out. They are here. So we have an audience today, which is going to be awesome. Instead of us talking to air. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in.
Please rise if you are able for the invocation and remain standing for our first hymn. Infinite Spirit, we gather today in the spirit of gratitude. We are grateful for so many blessings and for this opportunity to worship together here physically as well as virtually. Let us fill our hearts this morning with love, with all the love and compassion that comes from knowing that we are all one in spirit. And let us envision a world in which people take care of one another, in which strangers lend a hand, and in which love and cooperation are the basic values practiced. Help us remember that whatever we do or say will be an expression of love. Let love be our guiding star. Amen.
Amen.
Our first hymn
It's
is Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. His grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. A precious gift that years appear, the hour I first believed. The many dangers, trails, and snares I have already gone, the grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been left 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we know as things to see God's grace, then we first begun. Please be seated.
I would like to take this moment in honor of all who nurture our minds, bodies, spirit. This year's Mother's Day is extra special to all the mom angels. We thank you for all the motherly figures, grandmothers, aunts, sisters, wives, step-parents, foster parents, guardians, babysitters, teachers, healthcare providers, neighbors, friends, and many others who practice self-sacrifice and embody compassion to all who are privileged to be in their influence. Thank you. Located on the handout are declarations of principles. Please join me in reciting these principles together. We believe in infinite intelligence. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. We affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith constitutes true religion. We affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual continue after the change called death. We affirm that communication with the so-called dead is a fact scientifically proven by the phenomena of spiritualism. We believe that the highest morality is contained in the Golden Rule. Whatsoever ye would that others should do unto you, do you also unto them. We affirm the moral responsibility of the individual, and that he makes his own happiness or unhappiness as he obeys or disobeys nature's physical and spiritual laws. We affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any human soul, here or hereafter. And we affirm that the precepts of prophecy and healing contained in the Bible are divine attributes proven through mediumship. Please go to your handout and recite with me the healing prayer. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help and to restore them to perfect health. I put my trust in the love and the power of God. Now join with me in the guided meditation. Assume a comfortable position and close your eyes and allow your body to just gently relax. Take a deep breath and breathe out, emptying your lungs entirely. And once again, take full deep breaths, never strained or rushed. Breathe in strength. Breathe out tension. Take another deep breath, and as you exhale, imagine any stress or discomfort leaving your body. Take full, deep breaths, allowing each one to get a little deeper, allowing your breathing to discover its own natural, unhurried pace. As ideas enter your mind, allow them to drift and float without attachment. Just simply breathe as thoughts come and go, and allow your breathing to relax your body. Feel your body becoming lighter and lighter as you relax more and more. Your heartbeat and breathing are serene and steady as you sink into comfort and relaxation. See yourself enjoying a waterfall of sunlight and crystal water. As the sun and water cascade over your body, you absorb the healing oxygen carried inside your blood vessels throughout your whole body. The oxygen heals and releases tensions. It is cleansing away toxins and injecting new life and energy. Cleansing, renewing, and revitalizing every cell in your body. Allow your body to heal itself. And all the tensions give way to easiness. And this beautiful cascade of sunlight reminds you of the source of all energy. And a feeling of joy begins to glow deep, deep inside you. Now focus your attention on your heart. Think of someone who has been a mother to you, either your actual mom or another person in your life who has cared for you, loved you, and guided you. Feel the love this person has given you. And allow that love to travel throughout your body, filling you up until you are overflowing with it. Now take a moment to send this person silent blessings. And thank this person for sharing her love with you. And imagine this person overflowing with joy because of you. Notice the circle of love created by this exchange of giving and receiving. Love is flowing through everything, touching all living things. Breathe love. Breathe that love in and out. Extend this love to everything, every living thing on this planet. And know that this flow of love is a universal life force that exists within all of us. Feel your heart swell with compassion for yourself and others that you have touched with your love today. Because we are all connected to each other. There is no separation. Because as you give, you receive. Feel your connection also to the divine energy and know that all is one. And stay with this beautiful, deep, relaxing, peaceful feeling. Through the rest of the day and weeks and months. Your whole being sings with release and renewal as the source refuels and fortifies your body and spirit, and you feel refreshed and re-energized. Remember, you can return to this energy anytime you want, just by recalling it and touching in with your source, with you. Gently take a few deep breaths. Bring your attention back to the room, and when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Please rise for our next hymn, How Great Thou Art.
God. Chaos and wonder. Consider all the works thy hands have made. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, wipe out throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When through the woods and forest glades I wander, and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees. When I look down from lofty mountain grandeur, and see the brook and feel the gentle breeze, then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Please be seated.
It is a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker this morning. About 10 years ago, I became acquainted with a man who has challenged me to be better, and he has also become a good friend. Reverend Jerry Moore is an ordained minister, medium, and healer, and he has also been consistently active here in our association. He has volunteered in many different roles, including being a trustee. He shares his love and passion for our association. Whether he's on the board of trustees, on a committee, working on a project, or just sharing ideas, or just sitting around having a meal, he has a life motto that he lives by, or that I believe he lives by. We can, by being patient with our progress, persevering with our progress, and trusting that we are making progress. His topic today is going to be about celebrating mothers, celebrating parents. And here's to moms and dads and the people who love them. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Jerry Moore.
Well, Pauline, thank you very much for those very kind words. I appreciate it. So, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
So, this is a day that we, of course, remember and honor our mothers. And we thank them for the 1,001 little chores that they've done, the comfort they've given us in times of stress, the words of wisdom, and the guidance all along the way. As a parent, we look upon our child and we imagine a future for them, a future of endless possibilities, a universe of what might be. In the hope of giving them the best possible start, we take the best of what we have learned and try to pass it on to our children. At least that's what's supposed to happen. It reminds me a little of the game that we often played when we were in grade school. It is the one where someone whispers a message to one person, and then they pass it on to the next person, and then that one whispers it to the next one until it's gone completely around the room. Well, when you then compare the original message with what the last person understood it to be, they are nothing alike. So I would like to take this opportunity to publicly apologize to my own mother for all the messages that she tried to send me, and I still didn't get it quite right. Being a parent is a challenge, a major challenge. And anyone who is a parent will remember the moment that you gazed at your child and suddenly had this insight that flashed in your head that the world can be a dangerous place and she is so vulnerable. I must protect her. That sense of ultimate responsibility can feel a little crushing. The emotional weight of bringing in a human being into a world like this is huge. From then on, we try to protect and prepare our children for being a citizen in the world. As they grow, they still experience all the bumps and scratches and emotional scars that are part of growing up. And after all, that is part of the training too. As a parent, it's almost like a race against time. Is it at all possible? Can it be done? Can I get all they need to know and understand conveyed before they hit puberty? Many have tried. Once they hit puberty, it becomes something of an iffy proposition. Once that happens, it can be very difficult to have an effect. Maybe they're getting the message, and then again, maybe they're not. The time marches on, and eventually they leave the nest. And when they have left the household, and you can feel a little relaxed feeling, at least until you get that phone call and you hear those two little words on the other end. You probably know the ones I mean. The phone rings and you pick up the receiver and you hear, "Hello, Dad." And you know something is not quite right in their life. And it's so easy to get drawn right in. You're still their parent, right? It says so in a fine print. Being a parent is definitely a challenge. By the way, I got a free upgrade as a parent. I'm no longer just a father. I'm now a grandfather. Jordan Elizabeth is now 9 years old, and I have to tell you, she's an absolute joy to be around. When I ask her how she's doing, her emphatic answer every time is, "I had the best day ever." I have to tell you, it's such a delight. And yes, I have pictures, so if anyone's interested after the service, I'll be glad to show you. So my daughter Angela, of course, is her mother, and she's celebrating Mother's Day also today. All of this got me to thinking about what it is to grow up, to mature, to become an adult. And I realized that parenting and growing up have very strong parallels to what is taught in spiritualism and natural law. Like many of you, I was not raised in this religion as a child, but joined spiritualism after becoming an adult. So you might say I'm a born-again spiritualist. Earlier, we read the Declaration of Principles. And one of the primary principles of spiritualism is that each of us is responsible for our own lives. We are charged with making our own happiness or unhappiness, regardless of the circumstances. That does not mean we should all be Pollyanna and act like everything is just sunshine and roses. It does mean that we can change the whole outlook of a situation based on our thoughts about it. I remember my first spiritualist teacher, Reverend Alice Hall. Some of you might remember her. She lived here in the camp, had an office here in the camp, right next to the Davis building here, and served as secretary for the National Spiritualist Association of Churches for years. She grew up in South Carolina in rather limited financial circumstances. She told me once that the house she grew up in was in disrepair and had holes in the walls that faced the outside. The family could not afford to fix it or even paint the walls or ceiling. So they used newspapers to line the ceiling and walls so that the wind would not blow through the holes during the cold parts of the winter. At the time, Alice did not think much about it. She used to lie in bed and stare at the comics that were pasted on the ceiling above the bed. And she would make up her own stories about the characters she saw in those drawings. In other words, she accepted the situation as something that she herself could not change, and she made the best of it. She applied her imagination and creativity. As a parent, we try to encourage our children to be open to possibilities. Sometimes we might say, "You can be whatever you want, just be happy." But that might get translated by the child to mean, if I'm not happy, I must be doing something wrong. Happiness is not automatic, but it is a choice. When we start thinking it is supposed to be automatic, that I should be happy because I have a house, a car, a family, and yet I'm not happy. It's confusing. I must be doing something wrong. And that can be extended to mean if I'm doing what my parents told me to do, and then things should be opening up for me, and this should be easy. If it's not working, then it must be someone's fault. It's so easy to blame our situation on ourselves or on others. But identifying what we can do about it and taking action is much more empowering. It takes the focus away from pointing the finger and moves it to positive action to change the situation. In the turmoil and chaos of the current day, it is easy to point to other causes for everything from the availability of toilet paper in stores to why Boston Rob got kicked off Survivor Island last week. Of course, the real issue is to determine what you're going to do about it, if anything. After all, Boston Rob may not be your issue to deal with. Being responsible to yourself also means that we must make decisions about what is important about what we've learned. As we grow up, we absorb and are taught and experience many things, but not all of it is relevant 10 or 20 or 30 years later. Growing up, it seems we learn more than we can use, and we learn less than we need. Our parents were our first teachers, and they used their experience to teach us when we were young. So we end up learning a lot of information that was useful for our parents, but not necessarily for us. Perhaps our parents grew up in the 1930s, a time of great scarcity when saving string and tin cans was necessary and expected. Or perhaps they grew up in the 1950s when mother often stayed at home and father was the sole breadwinner. Or perhaps they grew up in the 70s and now they have no clue what Facebook is all about. It does not mean that they have nothing to share, but that some of it does not match with our own life experiences and doesn't have relevance to challenges that we face in our lives. So it's up to us, to each of us, to evaluate our current situation in the light of what our childhood imprinted on us, together with what we've experienced ourselves. We need to decide what is relevant. We decide what are the important factors. Which current situations are enough like previous ones to use the same solution as we did before. And we learn that some of the old learned information is no longer useful, or that it's never going to be useful to us. And that process requires effort. We must pay attention to the factors that are important and the options that are currently before us. The results of our choices are not always predictable. Not being able to predict can cause us to hesitate. Which is the right choice, we might ask. Trying to figure that one out might cause us to become paralyzed, fearful of making any choice that might be wrong. But in the broad sense, every choice is the right choice, just with different outcomes. The key is to take ownership, to embrace the fact that it is our choice, to be glad in the fact that we have the freedom to exercise that self-responsibility, to focus on the joy of participating in our own life and directly affecting what happens in it. The alternative is to rely on the whims of other factors and forces that may be at work. It is a matter of embracing life instead of fearing it. You might remember the movie Parenthood in the scene in which Steve Martin plays the father of a 5-year-old who's in a play at her school. The child inadvertently causes the scenery to collapse and fall, and children are running every which way in the chaos that followed. Everyone is laughing at the unexpected outcome of the destroyed scenery, except for Steve Martin's character, who is horrified and he feels like he's on a giant roller coaster. In fact, the whole movie is about him learning to deal with the ups and downs of life and making the best of it, having fun with it. Learning has been described and defined as gaining knowledge. Wisdom has been defined as knowing how to use that knowledge. In our lives, we go to school, we go to classes, we train ourselves, we learn all kinds of things. We gain knowledge and facts. If we're able to repeat that information back correctly, we get a piece of paper proving we know it. a certificate of completion, a diploma, you name it. And then we go about our lives thinking, if only somebody would ask me just the right question, I have an answer for just the right question. Of course, if that is really the attitude one takes, that we think we already have the answer, then we stop looking, we stop exploring, we stop asking questions. In short, in effect, we stop living our life. Or if we think we already know the perfect solution to a problem, we stop listening for alternatives. Of course, this does not allow for other possibilities that could contribute. An option is to identify the purpose and intent of the solution, back up from a specific outcome that we might expect, and look at it from the broader picture. It's a bit more work, but it allows for more possibilities. Before the Arab Spring some years ago, the people of Egypt had assumed for a long time that any action to change the government was just a wasted effort. Once that fixed idea of what would happen if they protested was broken, the scenario for the whole country changed in less than 90 days, and for the most part, peacefully. If a person has an idea for what could be a solution but never acts on it, there is no fulfillment. Hope without action is a recipe for disappointment. It has also been said that hoping that someone will do it for me usually ends up being someone doing it to me. When we act out of fear, it is typically a reaction step. We look backwards. We say to ourselves, based on my knowledge and belief, I want to avoid X, so I must do Y. If we try to think of what we do not want to happen, it naturally forces us to think and give energy to that negative event. It actually helps create and reinforce it. Instead, it's better to focus on what is desired. When we act out of sense of joy, we typically do not take a step based on previous knowledge. When we are joyful, we are creative and willing to try something new. We typically look forward and create something different that we had not experienced before. It is the joy of discovery, uncovering something you did not know, something unusual and new, the unexpected, that aha feeling. At the very least, it keeps it from getting bored. And we look forward to the future instead of dreading it. We ask, what's next? We interact, we co-create. Either we are a participant with or a protector of almost everything we encounter in life. So the question is, what do we do with that experience? We make a choice. The best option is to make a deliberate choice with a sense of purpose and a sense of passion. Take a step, and the passion follows. That discovery increases the likelihood of new possibilities. And the new possibilities increase the likelihood of participation. And the more we increase the likelihood of participation, the more we increase the probability of a particular outcome. Many people come to Casa Dea, and they come for many reasons. Some come searching for ways to escape their past. Some come to discover greater potentials. Some come because they think they'll walk away with the perfect answer. We learn in increments. We adjust our behavior in steps. And as we make these changes, we begin to express our life in a little different way to the world around us. And the world regards us a little differently than it did before. And we observe that we are regarded a little differently than we used to. And we get altered and changed by the very fact we participate. That's the good part. The other even better part is that other people perceive a difference and they get altered by it without our even having to tell them how they should be. They begin to sense a possibility of how they can be. When they sense the possibility of how they can be, and then they begin to discover what is possible, and together we create a world of possibilities. What we listen to is a reflection of the possibility of hope. What we participate with is the direction, our own probabilities of hope. Some seek to escape a tiger. Some come to learn how to ride the tiger. and some learn how to pull the tiger's tail. The nature of it is we are all learning to a certain extent how to deal with the relevant tigers in our own lives. And some actually become more relevant tigers to the world around us. So we're not learning how to passively accept life. We're learning to aggressively live life. It is the understanding and application of the principles that stays within us. We warm our own heart and our own lives with everything that we do. And the most important thing is to own passion to live, our own passion to express, and our own passion to not only accept the probabilities, but to increase the probabilities by participation. Not through doubt and not through our reliance on external approval, rather for us to stand on our own 2 feet and be able to say to the world, thank you for what a life offers. In one set of teachings from Yahweh, knowing yourself takes on many forms. It means that we take the actions based on our own reasons for doing so instead of seeking someone else's approval first. To savor the joy in everything we do, that we never agree to that someone else has the power over us unless we also acknowledge that we've given them that power. That we never look to another person and think that they should know what the right thing is for us. That they don't ignore that we have an impact on our own life. That we always sense ourselves as a co-creator with other human beings. And we always allow those other human beings to be co-creators in their own nature. That our acceptance of someone else's faults does not make an opportunity for us to correct them. That we do provide the hand so that when another person seeks to step upward, we are there when they reach out. Other people count as much as we do. And the reverse is also true. We count as much as the other person. No human being, no matter what their power or position, is anything other than a human being struggling just as we are. It has been said that we are one. That is true, but that does not necessarily mean our common purpose is a driving force for a singular state of mind. Rather, our common purpose is to be part of a rich tapestry of passionate participation available to each and every one of us. How we reach that is going to be that we follow the pathway of the threads within the rich tapestry and recognize that we are contributing. Each of us is part of the whole. It is our tapestry too. And so that is the great central lesson of growing up and parenting. Each of us exists as part of this great fabric of life in this realm. We each choose our participation and experience. And from those choices to participate joyfully and creatively, that comes from our mother's and father's vision of a boundless and infinite collection of possibilities for our lives. The imagining of our parents of what could be and what we can become. We can do so carelessly, leaving it entirely to events and forces around us to decide our future, or we can jump in with both feet, with all the passion we can muster. We each get to choose. So to my mother, I say, thanks for a great job, Mom. I learned so much from you and Dad. You did your job, but now it's my turn. I'll take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Jerry Moore. That was beautiful. Some announcements. Next Wednesday, April 13th, our message bearer for our demonstration of spirit service will be Reverend Philip DeLong. And next Sunday, April 17th, our speaker is going to be.
May I got it wrong.
I'm just reading, not thinking. Hey, so next Wednesday, May 13th, our message bearer for demonstration of spirit service will be Reverend Philip DeLong. That was something else that my mother always taught me. Okay, and next Sunday, May 17th, our speaker is going to be Lori Carter. And also next Sunday, our Sunday Lyceum speaker will be Reverend Dr. Philip DeLong. Every Sunday, we have adult Lyceum, also known as Sunday School, from 9:30 to 10:15 here in the Andrew Jackson Davis building behind, right here behind the bookstore. To participate in absentee healing, please print the name and the first initial of the last name of a loved one, friend, or even a pet in our healing book at the side door of this building. And flyers and for camp events are at the back of the temple as well as also in the Welcome Center. We have an activities calendar and a church bulletin that you, wonderful pink flyer. Please take that home. And also please go to our webpage, www.casadega.org, to see events and to download our recordings of the Sunday service. Please rise, if you're able, for our next hymn, When They Ring Those Golden Bells.
There's a land beyond the river that we call the sweet forever, and we only reach the shore by grace degree. One by one we'll gain the portals, there to dwell with the immortals, when they ring the bells for you and me, you and me. You can hear the bells ring, you can hear the angels sing, bless the glory, hallelujah, jubilee. In that far off sweet forever, just beyond the shining river, when they ring the golden bells for you and me. We shall know no sin nor sorrow in the haven of tomorrow, when your borrowed shall still be on free. We shall only know the blessings of our Father's sweet caressing, when they ring the golden bells for you and me. Do you hear the bells ring? Do you hear the angels sing? And the glory, hallelujah, jubilee. In the far off sweet forever, just beyond the shining river, when they ring the golden bells for you and me. The days shall no remember, when in death we sleep asunder, when the King commands the Spirit to be free. Nevermore an anguish laden, we shall reach the lovely haven, when they ring the golden bells for you and me. Do you hear the bells ring? Do you hear the angels singing? As the glory, hallelujah, jubilee. In the far off sleep forever, just beyond the shining river,
Thank you please be seated. Thank you all for tuning in on YouTube. We will be live streaming again next week. Our service is going to be live streamed every single week. This is part of the service. We're going to close this part of the service, this part. And I want to close it with a prayer. Infinite Spirit, I want to thank you so much for being here today. And the energy and the vibration that you send out to the mothers and the people here in this congregation and afar. We wish them an awesome and a wonderful week and a year to come. As we thank you. Thank you for tuning in. You can check the Casadega website to download this recording and different things here in the organization. And we want to thank you.